Hey, everybody, welcome in to this episode of the Pharmacist and the Photog Games, Grooves, and Grub. I am the Pharmacist, Dion Spencer, and this is the Photog, Steve Moss, by my side.
Yo,
We are going to spend the next little bit talking about some things that are near and dear to our heart, namely sports, music, and food. We're good at least I'm good at one of the three. I don't know.
which one's that?
I'm
Drinking.
good at the food and the beer. Steve's great at the photography. We're
I don't know
both
about
decent
that.
at music. But so yeah, we're going to start with. I guess we need to talk a little bit about the last couple of outings of the University of Kentucky football team. We'll start with UK versus Auburn a couple weeks ago.
24-10. Auburn is still undefeated in Lexington.
Yeah,
Um, more of the same really that we have seen over the last month and a half. They get inside the 5-yard line and can't punch it in, and that was 3 or 4 weeks in a row there.
right.
Did it again against Tennessee on that opening drive, but you know, I don't know what's going on with this offense, first of all. I think there's a lot of things, but you can't really pinpoint one. The offensive line has, been a disappointment. The play of Brock Vandegrift has been disappointing, but how much of that is based on his inexperience and how much of that is based on his offensive line? Um, the play calling has been an issue. Um, when you're in a third and short situation, why are you throwing it on, third down and fourth down?
Right.
If you can't get a yard, you shouldn't be playing the game.
Yeah, that
That's kinda the way I see it.
and you mentioned the score there. The game wasn't that close.
No, it wasn't.
28-10. I mean,
Let's say 24.
or maybe I don't even remember. It's. I try to eliminate those things from my
The
memory as
score,
quickly as possible.
as Bill
Um,
Parcells would say, "You are what your record says you are," and right now
exactly.
Kentucky's not good.
Yeah, I mean, they were just. And I mean, outgained 2-1 from an offensive standpoint. Gave up 326 rushing yards. I mean, 278 of that to one guy.
That was the one thing that stood out was that the tackling was bad, which is not something you would associate recently with a Mark Stoops team. And, yeah, that was a Commonwealth, a Kroger Field. I'm still of the mindset
It's
that it's Commonwealth
it is
Stadium.
still Commonwealth
But,
Stadium.
that's a Kroger Field record, which is just crazy to think.
Yeah, I didn't realize that. Yeah, that it was just the all systems failure
Rich
kind
Brooks,
of.
where are you?
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, that it was just again just a failure that was disappointing. Um, why we play so poorly at home, I don't understand.
All legitimate questions.
And then you turn around and the next game we go to Tennessee. I think the point spread at kickoff was about 17,
Well, the
18.
expectation was they were gonna get blown out.
Yeah, I mean, I was thinking that when they released the point spread at 17, I thought, are we talking per quarter or and we do what we've done as of late. We go on the road
They
and we and
dial
with
one up.
and with a roster that is more decimated by injuries than
Yeah,
we've
that's
had all season.
that's becoming an issue, and I was over there this afternoon. Mark Stoops with an open date this week. He only speaks one day, so he was talking today. And, they're hoping to get at least a couple of defensive guys back, but I don't think Brock Vandegrift is gonna play because of they won't come out and say he had a concussion, but, they just called it a head
That
injury.
play, I mean, I know you
He got
were
rocked.
you were at the game
I
in
was.
Tennessee, and so I think you didn't have the benefit of getting to see the replays immediately like
Right.
I did, and we were texting back and forth, and I said, immediately I said I wouldn't be surprised if he, doesn't have a concussion because of how he took that hit. I mean, and he got met, you know, pretty much right in the chest, and they slammed him, and
And I at the end of the 3rd quarter, I was taking, some equipment back to the media room, which is at Neyland Stadium, is right next to the UK locker room, and I just happened to see, them helping 2 guys helping Vandegrift from one side of the locker room to the next. So it wasn't good at the time. It
Right.
didn't look very
Yeah, I
good.
mean, it definitely, I mean, the couple of replays, he got hammered, and, so the fact that, that at that point, your backup has to come in, and, of course, he immediately gives up the horrible pick, but
Yeah,
then he
he
settled in a little bit. It was a little encouraging to see what he did after the fact. He made some nice throws on the touchdown drive.
Yeah, he did, and the throw across the middle of Dane Key to get the first down there that kept that drive alive was a big play at the time, and then the 2 throws that he made, the touchdown, pass to, Jakari, and then the two-point conversion, both of those throws
The
were really good. The
you
catches were even
Yeah,
better.
yeah, I mean, the passes were put exactly where they needed to be, and then the receptions themselves were pretty amazing, and I mean, you gotta give the kid, I guess, credit. He came in a difficult situation, um, at that point. I mean, you're looking at a game, like I said, where I thought we were gonna lose by 17 per quarter, and really going into, midway through the 3rd quarter, that game was still winnable,
Yeah, it was. It
and
was until the I thought the game turned on the fumble. The where Vandegrift was stripped, and then I thought that kinda, gave Tennessee a little momentum, and then, of course, they go on to win it going away, but you're right. I thought Kentucky played, defensively played one of their better games of the year. Now Tennessee, going into that game, had not scored in the first half in, like, months,
right.
and, and I thought Kentucky accounted themselves very well defensively. Again, they go down on that first drive, the first play of the game. Wilcox gets the start at running back, and he rolls off 50 on that first carry, and we're going, "Wow, okay,
Yeah,
here we go."
yeah.
But then they go down and they can't punch it in,
Yeah, the play
and
calling,
that's
I mean, we've this is like beating a dead horse. We've talked about the play calling. I mean, when I don't understand 4th and 1 at what, the 3, 4 yard line, 5 yard line, maybe. You've got an
I think we
opportunity.
were inside the 5.
You've got an opportunity to hand the ball off to probably Wilcox, get a fresh set of downs at that point inside the 3, and so I don't understand dropping back to pass there, but,
There
we're
were a couple of those situations where you're going, "Okay, why are we throwing the ball here?" You know, if you can't get 1 yard on 2 carries, again, I don't think you should be playing, but
yeah, yeah,
that offensive line, um, they've got some injuries. You've got a rookie in there, starting at left tackle. Um, he's whiffed on a couple plays. There's enough blame to go around on that offensive line. They have not been good this year,
yeah,
to be frank.
yeah. That's
And now you've got a lot of people talking about Stoops' job status. Well, they're not gonna fire the guy because they would only we're in the John Calipari situation where UK owes him so much money. I think I've heard 44,000,000. Um, and to be honest, I think Mark Stoops has earned the right, just like John Calipari. I think John Calipari earned the right to fix the mess he's made, and I think Stoops has earned that right, to see what he can do to pull them out of this hole.
sure. Sure. I agree with that. Now you and I texted back and forth a little bit this week. I wouldn't be totally stunned to see Stoops leave, especially if like the Iowa job
Or
were to
Florida
come,
State.
come open. Um, whether or not he would ever step down, I don't know. I don't know that I see leaving that much money on the table. Actually, now behind the scenes, could they possibly work out a deal? I know they don't owe him anything if he retires, but
Right.
it could come down to a "we're giving you the opportunity to retire" kind of thing. I don't know. It's difficult to say, but I agree with you. I feel like the guy has done things with the UK football program that people like myself and you have not seen in our
8
years
straight
of
bowl
watching.
games. He talked about that today, and going to a ninth straight bowl game is big for him and for the program. But, here we are. They've put themselves in a situation now where they have to win out.
Yeah, and I mean, you know,
They will hammer
we're
Murray.
off this week. We got Murray at home. Who knows?
Well, they're 1-8.
Yeah. Um,
They're
that
winless in
and
the conference.
that could be a good situation for the backup QB to get in there and maybe get a little more comfortable. And then obviously, I mean, since we've got Texas on the road, we're obviously going to have them on their heels through at least 2 quarters, maybe three.
It's it's
Now,
a strange thing.
if we can somehow convince Louisville to just let us come over there and play, I think we're golden. But I'm a little bit concerned about about playing Louisville at home before the season. Yeah, I thought we were going to pound them again, but um, those guys are going to have to come out with a level of intensity that rivals the Ole Miss game, the Georgia game, and the the Tennessee game, I think, in order to beat Louisville. I mean, they're playing some pretty decent football right now.
Well, going back to the backup. All right, so I don't think there's well, I guess there is a chance. There's always a chance, depending on what the injury to Brock Vandegrift is. If he's in concussion protocol, and we don't want to speculate, but that seemed to be what was going on. You know, I assume he's gonna miss a couple of weeks. So if you know that you're going to play Murray, and they're 1-8, it's a chance for even if he's declared ready to go, that's a chance for Brock to sit. Stoops today talked about, or he was asked about Cutter Bowley, the freshman out of LCA, and he said today that he wants to get him some reps.
Because he could play the next 3 games and
He's already
still.
played in one.
That's true. He
Yeah.
did play once earlier in the season.
So, you've got 4 before you burn that red
Yeah,
shirt, and he mentioned that today.
yeah.
Um, but, the perfect scenario would be Gavin Wimsatt is your starter against Murray. They go out and they get a big lead, and then you bring in Cutter Bowley for the entire second half.
Right. I don't think you wanna throw him to the wolves at Texas, obviously,
Nope.
but if he could get some time against Murray and then potentially against Louisville,
Yeah,
that
maybe.
would be good for the long haul, I guess.
I you know, I it was an odd decision to me and to some people that I have heard talking and know who have talked. It was an odd kind of situation for me to throw open the quarterback competition again before Tennessee. I didn't really understand that. If Brock has been your starter all year, why do you go to that?
Right.
I just didn't understand that unless you want to, play games with Tennessee, making Tennessee have to prepare for 2 quarterbacks. I'm not sure I understood all of that anyway. I d I don't know what Gavin Wimsatt brings to the table that Brock doesn't, other than, the read option kinda stuff. Um,
Yeah, I do think he's a little more mobile, but then again, is he of course, Brock's not been super accurate, but there have been flashes of the passing that I'm not sure that but then you have Wimsatt turns around and does what he did on the touchdown
well, he
drive.
telegraphed he telegraphed the interception because he
True.
locked on immediately and was waiting for the guy to come out of his break, and by then the defensive back had read his eyes and had, jumped the route. But then, yes, those 2 throws in the end zone were both as good as it gets.
Yeah.
So,
All right. So, the conundrum of UK football, it just continues and hopefully we can have some stuff to build on these last 3 games of the season, but it's basketball season, which is exciting. So I had the opportunity. I did I watched the women first, which was on, which was
yes.
cool. They played well.
Yep.
The
I
team
told you they're gonna be sneaky good.
yeah, and I saw a quote this week. Gosh, I'm drawing a blank on who it was from, but it was an all timer female basketball player who said that she felt like what Kentucky
Val
was.
Steele?
No,
Wasn't Valerie?
no,
Hattie Joe?
no, it wasn't a UK related
Oh, I'm
player.
sorry.
It was a it was bigger than that. It was a legit all timer, and I apologize for not having their name at the tip of my tongue. But anyway, she was saying I think people are going to be pleasantly surprised. Well, I mean, granted, they're playing USC Upstate. Don't know
Right.
who that is, but they shot 52% from the floor. They hit 8 threes, so they shot roughly 30% from three-point range. Much like the men, they had 26 assists on 35 made baskets. The cool stats were 12 blocked shots and 10 steals.
This is a big team.
Yeah, and we had talked about that, about the length that this team has. We thought, the some of the older teams, the Matthew Mitchell teams were smaller but quicker. I think what this team might lack in quickness, they're going to make up for in length. So,
And and they, they kind of mirror the men's team in that there's a lot of interchangeable parts.
mhm.
He's got depth at his disposal because these girls are all transfers for the most part. Um, yeah, I was pleasantly surprised. I was waiting. I actually had a ticket for the men's game, which was a first for me in maybe 20 years. Um, and so we were pre-gaming it across the street, and we were watching the women's game, and it was fun. I was very pleasantly surprised that those that team is going to be really good,
Yeah,
and their bigs are good.
yeah, they're gonna be fun to watch, and we're definitely gonna try to make a date to maybe the two of us can get to one of the games and watch together. I'd really like to go see them in person. It's been a while since I've been to Memorial for a game, and
The historic Memorial
historic
Coliseum.
Memorial Coliseum. So, but yeah, so the women's team exciting. The men, UK took it to Wright State, which is what we expected.
41 points.
Prophetic.
Very prophetic for those who don't
Yeah,
know.
that was Pope's jersey number, which is
Mhm.
if you're into those kind of things, who knows? There's all kinds of conspiracies and things like that that we can look at, but yeah, they, you know, over the last few years, good grief, we lost there a few years ago to Walter McCarty's team from Evansville.
Evansville.
Games that you're supposed to be your get ready to go games, we struggled. So it was kind of refreshing to see the team come out and take care of business like they were supposed to. Six players in double figures, 11 3-pointers, which was pretty awesome to see. They shot 60% overall from the field, and the fun number was 30 assists on the 39 made field goals.
Which had happened only once in the previous 15 years under the old regime.
Yeah.
So they come out in their very first Mark Pope game and they assist on 30 of 39 made buckets. And I mean, some of them were a lot of fun, like the Kerr Kriisa. We've talked about that where he passed up the open look just for that one more pass. Um, and then some of them, like Amari Williams. I really think this guy is going to be a surprise to some people, because he's a big who can get it in the high post and distribute.
Well, and Pope likes to do that with his offense. He
Right.
loves to have the big man do a lot of the passing, which is really cool, and he's got obviously some capable guys to do that
Yeah.
right now.
And Williams finished with a double double, 12 points, 13 rebounds, and 3 assists. So yeah, I was happy to see the ball movement. I know that sometimes with Cal teams, it's about guys getting their own shots, and obviously 30 assists is going to go a long way in helping guys distribute the ball and get open looks. And I know that I think Pope wants to shoot at least 35 threes a game. I think he's got this mathematically figured out, because when Patino came in, I remember that Rick Pitino obviously embraced the three. Pope played for Patino, so there's some similarities in his offense, but it's uniquely Pope. But I just remember Rick Pitino saying, if you make 33.3% of your threes, you're going to win every game.
Yeah,
That's a mathematical, you know, statistic that I guess he had it figured out before anybody. But
yeah,
um, yeah, I saw a lot of ball movement. My only concerns are, when they run up against some big athletic teams with a big front line, how are they going to handle that? Because you've got four guys out on most every play. Or I'm sure they're not going to rebound as well. when they, especially when they get into league play. Of course, we'll see next week when they play Duke.
Right. Which, that's going to be one of those games where, I mean, I've watched a lot of highlights, as probably both of us have, Cooper Flag playing against legit NBA and European pros, grown men. and
Grown
he,
amen.
yeah, and he did not back down. I don't expect him to back down at all against Kentucky. If anything, he's going to look at that as a time to just really blow it up. And it may be one of those situations where Pope has to tell these guys, look, we know he's going to get his. We got to focus on reducing the damage at all the other spots. And
Yeah.
I think, do I expect us to beat Duke? No, no, I don't. I'd love to be surprised, but I feel like Duke, they've got a lot of weapons. I mean, and we've got. I feel like we've got good players, intelligent players. I think the basketball IQ for this team is
I
off the
agree.
charts.
I agree.
Um, but when you run into, the IQ will beat athletes. But if you run into a team that has athletes that also have that IQ, which I think Flag does, and a couple of their other players, it'll be a test for sure. But I think it will give us a really good look at where this team is. I think you've got so many guys on this team that can shoot the ball. That
Yeah, there's a
I'm
lot of interchangeable parts.
Yeah, I mean, you had Owe was 3 for 3 from 3-point
Right.
range, and Brea was 4 for 4. Uh, but then multiple other guys hit threes. So you have to at least be optimistic that where the odds are with us to not have a night where everybody goes cold.
But what happens when you're not making
Right.
shots? That's another question mark. And I talked to a buddy of mine who's a former high school coach, and he said at this point of the year, this point of the season, every coach is trying to figure out who's my one guy that when I need a bucket, he's going to give me my bucket. If I need a guy to grab a rebound, or if I need to get, if I need somebody to grab me 8 to 10 rebounds, who is that guy going to be? So, I think we're obviously very early. We're one game into the Pope era. uh, the good news is he's got a lot of dudes who can shoot.
Yeah.
Um, Otega Owe, he's a guy who's always going downhill. He only had 3 rebounds the other night. He's got to be able to get more rebounds than that. But he's
Because
a
he's
guy
got the body to do it.
he's a guy who can get in there and get his own when they need one like that. Kobe Brea, he had 18 on 7 of 8 from the field. Um, and then we talked about Amari Williams, Carr plus 32. This was another stat that I liked the other night against Wright State. They had 3 guys who were 30 plus or more on the game, and they had 8 guys total who were in double figures in that plus minus category. If you put any stock in that at all, and I know some people think it's overrated, but it is, it does show who's active when they're in there, and
Right. I mean, I think we don't have to do anything but go back to last season and look at the plus minus for Reed Shepard and Rob Dillingham to
yeah,
understand that stat. There's some validity to
there's some
that.
validity. Yeah, um, some guys don't put a lot of stock in it, but so yeah, my question mark is what happens when they run up against a team with 5 great athletes out there and a bigger front line. Um,
I think
Duke will be a great
defensively,
test.
I mean, I can see us, even the other night, and a lot of it maybe had to do with just the pace of the game, that kind of thing. But y- there were there were moments defensively where you didn't like seeing them getting beat on a back door like they did, and a few other things. They gave up some easy buckets, but learning process, and you got to also remember these guys. They haven't played together very long,
That's right.
and it's going to take a while to learn where they need to help each other and get the job done defensively. But I think ultimately, my goal for this Kentucky team is to just, um, be competitive. Always be competitive. Obviously, I want us to succeed with this fast-paced offense because I think that will alleviate a lot of the concerns people have had about Pope recruit. Because let's face it, kids today, they wanna score points, they wanna get up and down the floor, and this offense looks like that's what he wants to do. So I think the recruiting will take care of itself as long as they just don't come out this season and lay an egg, down the road. So,
No, I agree with you. I agree with you. The only other comment I would have about the game was afterwards, there was a lot of Kentucky fans, a lot of hand wringing from Kentucky fans who want to see Perry and Noah
yeah,
play, the Kentucky kids. And I think we're into a Richie Farmer situation where, if you remember, you know, people were calling the call-in show wanting to know if
yeah,
Richie was going to play tonight. And what I would just caution Kentucky fans who want to see those kids play, and then next year you're going to have a couple more in Jasper Johnson and Malachi Marino. You know, this roster is loaded with veterans.
right,
You've got so many guys that have, what, 7 or 8 thousand point scorers.
right.
The playing time is not going to be there right away for Perry and Noah. Now they're great kids and they can play, but they're also, looking up at a stacked roster of
Yeah.
guys who have a lot of minutes under their belts. So, I think one played 5 minutes the other night and the other one played three. I think that's about right. I think
Well,
that's about what you're going to see, unless there's a
right,
blowout. And I heard people saying, well, they were up 40. Why didn't Pope get him in the game? I just think that he's got to work on tightening that rotation as much as he can, especially when you've got Duke coming up.
right. And what people, we got spoiled obviously last year. Not every one of these Kentucky kids is going to be Reed
That's
Shepard's.
right.
So let's
And who knew Reed
tighten
was going to be
right,
Reed?
right. Let's tighten the reins in a little bit.
Let's
I
be
mean,
honest.
yeah. I mean, I would love to see one of those two Kentucky kids bust out at some point this season, but well, we need to temper the enthusiasm just a little bit there. So yeah, I mean, we got one more tune up between the big clash with Duke. That's Bucknell on Saturday. So hopefully we'll see more of what we saw against Wright State, and they'll keep, like you said, tightening up that rotation a little bit and kind of getting plans. I mean, Pope says he wants to play 8 to 10 guys.
I think eight's probably
I
the
think
magic number. I think Cal wanted 6 to 7. I think the depth that Mark has, I think he could get it to. I think he can possibly get it to 8 or 9.
yeah, and with the pace he's wanting to play, you need to have those guys in
That's
there.
right.
All right, so we're gonna shift gears a little bit. Let's talk about music.
Let me say one thing about
Sure.
the World Series,
Oh yeah,
if you don't mind. I just wanted to give a shout out to Walker Bueller, the Henry Clay product, because outside of Freddie Freeman, who was the MVP of the World Series, who had a better World Series than Walker Bueller?
right.
He got a win and a save, and in postseason play, he pitched 13 scoreless innings.
That's pretty strong.
That's pretty strong. That's pretty strong.
um,
Um,
it was a fun series. I mean, I watched. Not being necessarily a baseball fan, I watched quite a bit of those
yeah.
games and entertaining.
So now he's a free agent,
Yeah,
and I don't know which one of those big market teams on the East Coast is going to come after him, but he's going to be able to sign a huge contract. It's going to be a big payday for him. So
yeah,
good for him.
yeah. It's awesome.
Yeah.
It's always fun to see the local kids do well.
Back to music.
All right, back to music. I don't know if you bought any vinyl this last
I have
week.
not.
Okay, so I shocking. I bought some vinyl. I guess it was not this past weekend, but the weekend before. I got a wild hair on Sunday and drove up to Cincinnati. There's a record store up in Loveland called Plaid Room Records, which has a pretty awesome, selection of stuff. But I had seen on social media that they had a warehouse sale where they were advertising everything in this warehouse was $1 or $3, and
Why not two?
when you're gonna have records for $1 and $3, you're gonna have some garbage. But anyway, I had nothing better to do, so I drove up there that day and bought about 8 or 10 different things.
You spent $8.
Kind of all over. I bought all $3 albums. I went high end.
Okay.
but yeah, I picked up, so between that and, I'm a big fan of, Pops Resale in Lexington, which they do these really cool Instagram drops all week, 2 or 3 times a week at least, where they'll post a bunch of albums and you can jump on there and claim them. So between the Plaid Room Warehouse sale and Pops, I picked up, yeah, I don't know, a dozen or so, different albums, and I was kinda all over the map, as is my kind of my MO. A lot of bluegrass, got some Newgrass Revival and Tony Trishka, the banjo player, a little bit of jazz, Wes Montgomery, and Hank Crawford, who's a saxophone player that I've kind of, I say, discovered. When you haven't listened to jazz your whole life, it's kind of cool to come across artists that you kind of stumble onto on your own. And Wes Montgomery and Hank Crawford are guys like that for me. Little Tony Bennett, some Frank Sinatra, but then I also grabbed a Morris
The
Day and the
crooners.
Time. Yeah, the crooners. I love the crooners. For my money, I think Tony Bennett's the greatest male vocalist of all time.
He's
You could
you could put
throw
you yeah,
Frank in
you could
there
definitely he could
as
stake that
well.
claim.
Um, but yeah, grabbed a Morris Day and the Time. That was pretty awesome. So yeah, some good stuff. And when Steve got here tonight, I was listening to, well, when he got here, I was listening to Paul's Boutique, the Beastie Boys. But uh, I put on an album I picked up from a band called The Record Company that I grabbed this week. They're a very Black Keys esque kind of band, just a kind of cool upbeat, up tempo kind of thing. So yeah, cool vinyl. Also this week, uh, pre-ordered interesting little album from Snoop Dogg coming up, which let's just say the marketing package is uh is very interesting. It looks like a condom
Packets.
wrapper.
Yeah.
So yeah, and it's a picture disc. So I'll we may post some pictures of that down the road once once it comes in. But yeah, it was
Yeah, I saw I when you sent me that picture, like, I think I'm gonna buy this. I looked it up online. I think it's going for about 32, 33 bucks,
yeah.
depending on where you buy it, but I I think the one you're ordering is like a greenish
It was
color,
a
right? It also
Spotify
comes in
exclusive, yeah.
blue
Yeah, yeah,
and I think yellow.
yeah. So anyway, I'm a big Snoop Dogg fan, so I thought
He's
it was fun.
everywhere.
Yeah, he's living the life right now, that's
He
for
is
sure. But
killing it.
so yeah, so lots of new vinyl to comb through for me. On the live music front, I was fortunate enough last a week ago, yesterday actually, or a week ago today, went up to Bogart's in Cincinnati and got to see Jack White for the second time in as many months. I had gone pretty much my whole adult life being a Jack White fan. I had never been able to make the stars align to go see him, and now I've gotten to see him twice. And even better was the fact that I didn't have to go to a festival to see him. I didn't have to go to a big arena. I got to go to a small venue like Bogart's. And as good as the Columbus show was at the end of August, this Bogart show was just on a different level. The venue is smaller, for one thing, and the crowd was just at a completely different level as far as their enthusiasm. Um, Jack's drummer on this tour is from Cincinnati, so that I think maybe gave him a little added
Juice.
juice to put on a great show. And I came away from it. I'm the type of person that I go into every show just sky high, thinking it's going to be the best show I've ever seen. That's just the attitude I try to take in with me, and so it's rare that I see a show that I'm disappointed in. So I mean, I went into this show expecting to see greatness, and I left thinking I had seen greatness, and then I thought, oh, that's just me. But actually, today I stumbled across an article. Somebody had interviewed Jack, and this was just written and posted today. And just kind of loosely quoting, but he said, I've played so many amazing places, but something about this city and this venue, it just felt different. He said, you can feel when the crowd is with you. And there were moments during the show where everyone was in sync with what we were doing. And that was certainly palpable
That's
in the
cool.
room.
That's
It
very
was
cool.
it was cool. The guy is a there aren't many. I think, legitimate rock stars out there right now, and I think because for the longest time, his music has just been so kind of just different and in some cases just downright a little bit weird. Um,
I was thinking wonky.
yeah, I mean, it's just, he's always, he's gonna zig when you're expecting him to zag kind of thing, and, so, I mean, I think a lot of people, of course, everybody knows, Seven Nation Army because
Right,
they
playing with
played
his
that,
sister.
yeah, and playing with his sister, yeah, um, but, there's just something about his music. He's not afraid to take any chances for sure, and he's had some stuff over the years. Some of his solo stuff and side projects, they've been okay. One or two songs that I like, but this new album, there's something about it. He's going back to some hard rock, and he's a great live show, which I hope he continues to do these small shows. I don't know what the plan is moving forward, but when you got somebody who's capable of headlining festivals, which he did a couple weeks ago when the Foo Fighters dropped out of a festival, they called Jack and he filled in. Uh, when you're capable of doing that, but instead you choose to play 1,000 capacity rooms, something kind of special about that. So, uh, yeah, I'm pretty pumped about getting to see that. And if he announces a show in Lexington or Louisville or someplace that's drivable, I'm going to be trying to get tickets again. So
I didn't know Bogarts was still open. The last time
yeah,
I was in Bogarts was when I was in college.
okay. So interesting. I
Is that
mean,
still up there by UC
yeah,
on
it's
campus?
it's right on UC's campus. So
Yeah,
Bogarts, I'd never been there, so this
yeah.
was my
It's
first
pretty quaint.
experience. Bogarts opened like in the early 1900s as a vaudeville venue.
Hmm.
It was open for many years, closed down. It reopened in its current form in 1980. So that's a pretty, at this point, you're pushing 50 years. You've been open.
About the time I was getting into college.
The the and I just looked up to see. I knew there had been some great shows. Just a short list of bands that have played at Bogarts in Cincinnati. Going back, you've got Devo, Pearl Jam, Red Hot Chili Peppers, John Legend, Black Keys, Marilyn Manson, Nine Inch Nails, and Slayer. I mean, they bring in,
Can you imagine seeing those acts when they were, just getting started?
right. I
I mean, that's
mean,
why they were playing Bogart.
yeah, yeah. It's a cool
Crazy.
venue for sure. I
Yeah.
mean, I had seen online they listed their capacity at 1,500. The Columbus show where I saw Jack White, Newport Music Hall up there is listed at 1,700. I felt like there was no way Bogarts was only 200 people smaller than this, and so then I saw a few other things that led me to believe that in its current setup, Bogarts is a little over 1,000, which makes a little more sense because it just felt completely different, and yeah, definitely I'll be keeping an eye on their show calendars for sure because it's you got to love the venues like that are close and
I was
uh,
going to say within a 10-mile radius there of Cincinnati, you've got so many great venues to see music.
yeah.
I wish we had, it's only an hour drive, but I wish we had that here.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, because outside of Manchester and the borough, we don't have great venues for smaller shows. You
Right.
you occasionally get something pops up at the Opera House or the Kentucky Theater, but it's that 1,500 to the Palace in Louisville that holds about 2,300. Uh,
Great place to
that's
see
just
a show
that's just
too.
a sweet spot for a venue as far as, yeah, just feeling like you're not just a spectator of a show, but you're part of the
Involved.
show.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and that's the way it felt at Bogarts with Jack. So, all right, enough. I'm done fanboying over Jack
It's
White.
always fun to talk about it.
We'll but yeah, we'll probably find some. I'm sure I'll find some things to go see here in the not too distant future. I know we mentioned previously we're going to go see Billy Gibbons at the Kentucky, but there's a couple other interesting shows. I'm probably going to end up going to see Herb Alpert at at the Opera House. That just a
Love Herb Albert, the
trumpet
Tijuana Brass.
trumpet legend.
Yeah.
The only other guy I could think of that's in the same realm and about the same age from the
Chuck
jazz
Mint.
spectrum is my thought was Herbie Hancock,
Oh, okay.
and Herbie's still touring. I've been trying to find him close, but he's doing mostly bigger cities.
And we had talked about also going to see the Blind Boys of Alabama,
Yeah,
which would be very cool.
yeah,
Totally off the wall, different for us.
yeah.
But
Wow.
they've won multiple Grammys, and and on the gospel side of things, they are very well known.
Yeah.
But we'll
But
see.
I'm sure I'll probably go somewhere and see something between now and then. But all right. Did you eat anything good this week?
I had lots of good food, but I didn't venture out to any different places that I had never been. But you had talked about a couple of places.
Yeah. Over the weekend, I got to visit the new Dingbats Pizza. And so Dingbats is over on Jefferson, just a stone's throw down the street from West Six Brewing. In fact, one of the co-owners of Dingbats, Brady Barlow, is also one of the co-owners and founders of West Sixth. Along with Andrew St. Clair, have opened this new pizza spot. It's if you're familiar with Jefferson Street, it's in the building that formerly housed a little coffee shop that has a really cool mural on the side that's got a fox with a crown on it. But anyway, they are making what uh, I was not familiar with it. It's called Roman style pizza. So it's big square pizzas. They serve the pizza in square slices.
That's odd.
Each piece is roughly a half pound.
Oh my!
They run about $6 a piece. And what they're doing is they'll do some like house specialties, but then you can do a make your own kind of thing. So you
This
can
is not
also order the full pizza if you want.
this is not like Chicago style.
No. So I had to do a little research on this. The Roman style pizza, it's all about the crust, man. This dough, it's not like any other pizza in Lexington. It is it's like a focaccia. So it's crispy on the bottom, but still kind of doughy and a little soft in the middle. I wasn't able to confirm this, but I think Brady said that it takes them 2 days to make the dough, so they're having to work, ahead. But yeah, it's kind of hard to describe. My wife and I went and we gathered up 4 different slices, knowing full well that we couldn't eat it all. But we grabbed the 4 slices and then just went up the street and sat in the tap room at West Sixth, and I had a couple beers while I was enjoying the pizza. Um, I'm embarrassed to admit that I did just about eat all of the half pound slices of pizza. One that was really cool was it had a cream sauce instead of a marinara. It was a cream sauce with chicken, banana peppers, and then a habanero sauce drizzled over it. Pretty hot. I'm not a spice weenie, but
Right, I am
um, this one it was a little had a
a
little
little
kick to it.
fiery. Yeah,
Yeah, but I really enjoyed it. So I'm looking forward to going back and doing maybe a make your own where because that cream sauce was pretty amazing. I think with mushrooms and bacon or something like that would be interesting. So um good stuff. If you are a pizza fan, Lexington has
Roman
no
style pizza.
yeah, Lexington has no shortage of good pizza right
Very
now.
true.
That's
Very
for
true.
sure. And there's a few still here in town that I haven't gotten to check out that I'm planning on doing pretty soon. So, uh, drinking, drinking a Scary Berry from Ethereal down in the Distillery District. This is their seasonal release: sour ale, raspberries, cherry, blueberries, that
The
provides all
marshmallow.
the tart, and then the marshmallow added at the end gives it a little sweetness. Excellent brew. Um, my oldest, who is a grad student at Syracuse, actually saw this on Facebook before I even had a chance to realize it had been released a week or so ago. But they said, "Could you please grab some of that so that we'll have it to drink for Thanksgiving?" And I did that, and it's actually grabbed one for them, one for me, and it's good. It's really good.
Charity starts at home.
Yeah, that's right.
My home.
That's right. So yeah, excellent beer as always from Ethereal. So good stuff all around. And we're fast approaching, you know, Black Friday, which several of the Lexington breweries typically do something for Black Friday. So I'm expecting those guys to Ethereal and West Six and probably Country Boy will all do something around that time. Speaking of Country Boy, they've got not this weekend, but next weekend, I think, is their annual chili cook off. So
Okay.
if you're not familiar with that, it takes place here in Georgetown at the Georgetown Tap Room. I think there's a nominal fee, maybe $4 or $5, but for that you get to taste as much chili as you want, and the money goes to charity. So my wife is actually entering a chili this
Oh,
year, so I guess I'll be at a table. I don't know how much.
cheering her
I'll
on,
also be
or you
I'll
don't come
also be
home.
sampling, but that's always a good time. It's
Good
a
for
good time.
Emily.
There's always some good chili there, and my wife is going to be putting one in. It's actually very good. We snagged a. Well, I say I carried tables. I didn't do anything with the actual making of the chili, but at the University of Louisville Chi Omega chili cook-off, snagged a third place with some white chicken
There you go.
chili. So we're gonna take that same one up here to Georgetown and see what we can do with that. But always a good time. So
While we're giving shout outs, I was in Chinkapin today. That's a local brewery here in Georgetown. I didn't sample anything because I was officially on the clock, but we were doing a little feature on them.
yeah,
But I did notice that they have maybe 10 to 12 of their own, but then they're also carrying Country Boy in there, a couple of Country Boy beers and a couple others. But the place is I like the layout of the tap room, and it's kind of cool.
he's doing good work there.
David
Back
Miller is
they
the
yeah,
owner.
David. I've
Shout
talked with
out.
him a few times. He he came in and immediately set about trying to uh, just make good beer, and he's done. I think they've done a good job of that at the Festival of the Horse that Scott County in Georgetown does here about a month or so ago. I went to their booth and got to try, I believe it was an Oktoberfest and one other. I'm drawing a blank what the other one was, but they were both excellent beers. And you know, I just feel like you need to get out and support those local guys, especially the smaller ones. The guys like Country Boy, obviously, they know what they're doing. They,
Yeah, they're rolling now.
the two of us, we're not going to have much impact on what happens for Country Boy, but if we can get a few people to stop in and check out Chinkapin here in Georgetown, that's going to be a good thing. And we'll also continue to give shout outs to the local guys in Lexington who are all doing really good work. So I appreciate them. All right. What do you think?
I'm good. We'll see. By the next episode, we'll have probably two basketball games in. The football team is off, so hopefully they'll get a win against Pi.
Yeah, I think we look good against them.
Yeah. Then they'll be preparing for a bad Murray team. Um,
We may try to highlight a little bit of the UK guys in the NBA, which some of them have been lighting it up in the early going. So that's always fun to keep an eye on. And we'll probably
probably buy a few more vinyl albums.
that's right. And I'll be a bachelor for a couple of days this weekend, so there's a very good possibility that I will be eating out at least one or two meals. So I'll try my best to maybe
Yeah,
hit a spot that uh, I haven't been to or something we haven't talked about, and maybe give a shout out to some local folks. But until then, have fun, listen to some good music,
yep.
we'll watch some sports, eat some good food, drink some good beer. We'll see you next time.